way, way too long to go into everything. So we're going to do an abbreviated version. But just for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting Trudy yet, I want to share a short version. So Trudy is the founding teacher of Insight LA and the co-founder of the Institute for Meditation and Psychotherapy. She's taught at universities and retreat centers all over the world for more than 40 years. She has trained in mindfulness and Zen since 1973, and she holds a degree in developmental psychology from Harvard University and is one of the senior Buddhist teachers in the United States, which many of you probably know. She's a contributing author to the Clinical Handbook of Mindfulness, Compassion and Wisdom in Psychotherapy, and Mindfulness and Psychotherapy. And one of my super fun facts that maybe you don't hear in a lot of her bios is that she's also known for her role as the voice of Trudy the Love Barbarian in the Netflix series Midnight Gospel. So she's quite a variety background there. So yeah, we're just super grateful to Trudy for agreeing to lead our lunchtime mindfulness today. And I think I'll just go ahead and turn it over to you, Trudy.
Thank you, Madeline. And thank you for remembering Trudy the Love Barbarian. That's
Yes,
my favorite part of the bio.
yes,
Yeah, when you get to be my age, your bio gets really long. So thank you for for
yes,
shortening that.
absolutely.
So are you watching for admitting people now so I don't watch that?
Yes, yes. Just do
Okay.
your thing and we will take care of everything. And also, if you wish to close your eyes during the meditation, feel free to. I will have mine open the whole time so I can
Okay.
keep an eye on anybody coming in.
Great. Thank you. I wasn't sure you were going to be here the whole time. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Because people are still coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. So thank you everybody for being here at our lunchtime group. I just have a question. How many of you are planning to come to the November retreat? How many of you might be at that retreat? We don't know. Okay. I just know that it was set out to, excuse me for a moment, I have to mute my things. Okay. I have turned on all my do not disturbs, and for some reason, sometimes things come through. So I apologize in advance if that happens.
We weren't hearing anything, just so you know. I didn't
Okay.
hear anything on my
Okay.
end. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I heard something. Okay. I'm
Okay.
glad you didn't. Good. Um, yeah, so I thought that I would like to, of course, we'll do practice together. And I'd just like to start with just a few minutes of grounding and then share what I'd like to talk to you about today. And then we'll do some practice together. And then a chance for some dialogue, some Q and R. I don't say Q and A because I don't have the answers. So Q and R is questions and reflections, or what responses, but definitely not the answers. So let's just for a moment close our eyes, take a deep breath, and one more deep breath in. And one more time, breathing in the aliveness of this moment and relaxing with the out breath. And sensing and feeling your feet on the floor if you're in a chair, your body on your cushions, just tuning into this sense of embodied presence with each other. Even though we are disembodied on the screens, everybody here is living in a body. So just a bow of acknowledgement. There is a body. And maybe for just a moment, asking yourself if there's anything particular that you want to learn or hear about today in our meeting. Just a moment of reflection on what might be particularly up for you today. And then opening your eyes. And if there is something that is on your mind that you would particularly like to me to address uh, just be, please put it in the chat. Just pop it in the chat and I can see your message. And I encourage you to do that, because then I have the pleasure of knowing that what I'm talking about is something you're actually like to hear. So I'm going to talk to you today about some of the early Buddhist women, the people who came to practice with the Buddha in the early days. And I like to talk about them. I very much like to talk about them. These were women who were the Buddha's, they were basically the Buddha's friends and relatives. And they came to be part of his community so that they could have an opportunity to practice, because thousands of years ago, in those days, women did not have any lifestyle choices the way we have now. Their roles were very prescribed, very strictly prescribed. So to be able to be part of that Sangha and join it was just a huge, huge blessing. And so I want to talk about one of the early women who was really considered a female Buddha, a wonderful teacher in that community. And then also some of the Buddha's teachings about war, because I don't know about you, but I have had a lot of trouble sleeping the last couple months since we got into this war. It's been deeply, deeply troubling on many counts. So I'm going to begin by telling you the story of Patachara. Patachara was a mother who lost everything and went mad. And some of you might know her story. She was really, uh, she lived about 2,500 years ago in ancient India. And she was making the traditional trip home to her parents to birth her second child. And the baby came midway on the journey while her husband was, there was suddenly a storm. And so her husband had to go out and find, branches and bamboo to make a shelter for them. And while he was out gathering the branches for the shelter, he was bitten by a poisonous snake and he died. So this, of course, huge tragedy. And Patachala had to continue on to her parents' village with both of her sons. And because of the storm, when she came to this river, it was, it was much higher from all the rain. And so in order to cross the river, she put the toddler son on one bank, and then she crossed over with the baby, and she put the baby safely on the other bank, and she went back to get the toddler, who got excited and ran to meet her, jumped into the, he had no fear and walked into the water and was swept away. And the river was really a rushing torrent. There was no way she could catch him. And then she turned to the other bank toward the baby to get the baby, and a bird of prey swooped down and took the baby. So this is actually a story of a woman who just she lost her family on that trip, her entire family. And when she got to the town where her family of origin lived, she discovered that both her parents and her brother had died when their house caught fire. The story is very detailed and vivid. I'm just sort of encapsulating it for you. And when she got there, the ashes of it was still smoldering. It had been a very recent fire, and she was mad. She just went mad with grief. And she was wandering in circles, and she was tearing at her clothes, and then she was ragged, and people threw trash at her like, she was an unhoused person who was nuts. But one day, and I'm telling you this story because she had lost everything. But one day she wandered into a grove where the Buddha was teaching. And the people in the audience tried to keep her away. She was probably smelly and half naked. But the Buddha saw her, and he approached her, and he said to her, "Sister, come to your senses. Recover your presence of mind." Of course, the retreat that we're about to teach here now is called Coming to Your Senses. And such was his power of presence that when he approached her and said that to her, "Come to your senses, sister, recover your presence of mind," her mind cleared, and she suddenly realized where she was, and somebody gave her a blanket to cover herself, and she asked to be ordained. And in those days, ordination was not the complicated ceremony that it is today. He would just say, "Hey, Pasco, come and see for yourself." And so on the spot, he ordained her. He took her to the community of nuns, and where she was accepted. And she became a deeply enlightened nun. I'm going to read you her enlightenment poem. And this is a translation I really love by the poet Anne Wald. Young Brahmins plow fields, sow seeds, nourish their wives and children, get wealthy. Why can't I find peace? I've done everything right. I comply with the teacher and the teachings. I'm not lazy or puffed up. One day, washing my feet, I watched the water as it trickled down the slope. I fixed my mind. I concentrated my mind, she means, the way you'd train a horse. Later, taking my lamp, I enter my cell. I sit on my bed and watch the flame. I extinguish the wick with a needle, and the release of my mind is like the quenching of the lamp. Oh, the nirvana of the little lamp. So I love this story because to me, this is a story about everything is workable in the Dharma. You can lose everything. And maybe we don't have, the Buddha to walk up to us and just say, "Hey, with the power of my presence, I'm going to restore yours." But we have the teachings. The Buddha is still teaching. The Dharma is here. Here you are, hearing the Dharma. This is one of these things 2,500 years later. Here we are with this beautiful legacy. And so I would like to do a practice with you. I don't see any messages yet in the chat. I would like to do a practice with you and then do some teaching about how the Buddha as an anti-war activist after that. So to do practice together, again, just find a frame that your body is really comfortable in. And oh, good, there are some notes. Okay, I will talk about these. I'll talk about these later. So the woman whose story I just told is named Patachara, Patachara. And Patachara, you can find the stories of the Terigata, these ancient stories about the women who were part of the Buddhist monastic community. In my favorite book about this is called The First Buddhist Women. And maybe you could put that in the chat, Madeline. It's called The First Buddhist Women, and it's by Susan Murcott. And it's really a great book because it talks about, unlike some other translations that are more recent, this